host, the business coach Mac Atram, and today it's exciting because I have none other than Kai-Markus Mueller joining us. And Kai is based in Stuttgart in Germany. And today we are talking about neuropricing, amongst other things. If you just said to yourself, what did you just say, Mac? What is neuropricing? Well, you're in the right place. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a consultant, if you're a coach, if you are dealing with any type of customers, you want to get the edge. And stay tuned. Hey, Kai, welcome to the Business Success Show. Thank you for jumping in.
Thanks so much, Mac, for having me.
You're most welcome. Kai is a professor of consumer behavior. He's an entrepreneur as well, which is important. He's not just an academic, he's an entrepreneur. And on this show, we like to talk to entrepreneurs who have expertise in various fields. He's also a neuroscientist and the author of The Invisible Game: The Secrets and the Science of Winning Minds and Winning Deals. Winning deals. Do you want more customers? Do you want to win more deals? Do you want your customers to say yes? Well, you need to understand what's going on in their mind. Why do they say yes? Why do they say no? Why are they attracted to you? Why are they repelled by you? What is it you're doing or not doing? How does the mind work? So that's why I'm excited to talk to Kai about this, because this is an area I don't know much about. I know a lot of stuff about a lot of different things, but this area is Kai's expertise. So Kai, tell us a little bit about your background, and also what is neuroscience? I think I know what it is. And what is neuropricing?
Wow, that was a pretty cool introduction.
Thank you.
So what is neuropricing and what is neuroscience? Let's get started with neuroscience. Neuroscience is the science of the mind. So actually, indeed, before I went into business, before I went into founding my own startup, I spent many, many years in the classic laboratory. So I was recording brain signals, trying to figure out how does our mind perceive faces, how do we perceive colors or shapes, that kind of stuff. So I was working in how does the mind create perception, and neuroscience is so full of very cool and interesting things. For example, I'm seeing you for the first time, but maybe we meet again in 5 years. And the crazy thing is, my mind will still remember, right? This is very hard to teach a computer. Now, with very new artificial intelligence algorithms, this becomes more and more possible. But for centuries, scientists have been thinking about, like, how does that work? So, that was my basic research. From that, at some point, I moved into business. I started working at a management consultancy, an international consultancy focused on pricing and marketing. And then I figured out something very substantial. I had spent all these years studying neuropsychology and those mental issues, like that we don't really do what we think, and we don't really behave the way we claim we behave, and all these kinds of things. And the first thing that you learn in the first semester of psychology is, when you want to figure out what people really think, what they really want to do, don't ask them, just run an experiment. Oh. So I worked for 2 years in pricing consulting, and I had to ask people how much they're willing to pay. Here are a bunch of really good books from you, and they're worth a lot. I'm sure people have been making quite good good profits from the learnings in there. So if you just go out and say, how much are you willing to pay for this book, and you ask the right people, the people that are actually going to buy your book, well, would they really tell you how much they're going to pay? Maybe, maybe not. Yeah. Maybe they'll err on the lower side at least. So this was my puzzle. I had all this education, and then I combined those two things. I combined pricing research with neuroscience, because the cool thing is, the brain does not lie. So if I just ask you something like, how much are you willing to pay? How much are you willing to pay for, say, a cup of coffee?
Mm.
You may be saying, well, I like going to Starbucks, but I'm just claiming here I'm willing to pay £2 or €2, whatever. But really, you're willing to pay more. So what I did was I developed algorithms that used brain scans. So, with the EEG,
Right.
the EEG is the electroencephalogram. It's this cap that you put on the head,
Yeah.
and you measure this thing called the brain waves. And these brain waves, they can tell you whether two things in the mind fit together or don't fit. For example, I could give you two words, bread and butter.
Mm-hmm.
Your mind would probably say that fits. I could also give you something else like book and butter. But you see the same word on the screen, but your mind will very quickly say, no, that's not what fits. So what I did is I changed these classic findings and I developed measures to use a very similar approach and say a cup of coffee at Starbucks, 10 cents. And what turns out, people's brains would say, no, 10 cents is not a good price. €10 is not a good price either. But say something like €2.40, €2.80, it's a great price. Right?
And so you're sensing all this from the EEG electronic signals.
Yes.
That people saying, oh, this is more real. This, okay, I see. Okay, carry on.
Yes. And so, well, basically, that's it. There's a lot of math behind after that coming and a lot of math before that coming and some science, but basically that's the basic idea.
Okay.
Measuring on the brain the willingness to pay, the perceived value. And the cool thing is the brain does not lie. So you can actually, before you launch a product or before you change your price, you can actually assess what is people's value perception of this price, of this service, or of this product.
Okay, thanks for that, Kai. So let me ask, so as an entrepreneur, so we've got different entrepreneurs and coaches and consultants listening in. How do I need an expert like you to help me to establish that? Or is that something that I can, I don't know, work out? I mean, we don't have the mathematical genius brain that you have, but how does an ordinary entrepreneur or a company establish that? Small business owners, we're not talking about the large corporations because obviously they'll, yeah.
So this is a great question. And you're not the first one who asks it. So yes, I also offer this as a service with an agency called Neurensics, based in Amsterdam, where we consult with small companies, with big companies. And the interesting thing is that there is a second tool. When I show people these prices, I also ask them something, namely, to every price I show, I ask them, is this cheap or is this expensive? And now they're using a keyboard with the arrows and just saying cheap or expensive, just clicking left or right. When they've done that, and you look at their data, you will say that maybe they've told you the truth, or maybe they didn't tell you the truth. But what you will also find is that they are very fast answering a very clear question. This is also something you know from psychology, but we also know it with respect to the EEG brain signal. When we say cup of coffee 350 and that is expensive and people are convinced it's expensive, they'll quickly say expensive, they quickly press that button. When 150 is cheap and they're sure, they'll quickly press cheap. 250, they may be saying 250. Is this cheap? Is it expensive? I'd rather say expensive, but they take a split second longer. So what we've done is we have turned this insight into basically an online reaction time research tool where people believe they are actually just answering a cheap, expensive task. But in reality, we are measuring how long it takes them to respond, because that is again a non-conscious signal that they don't influence. And that way we get much closer to the truth than by just taking the answers at face value.
Okay.
And that's something, that has been used by very small companies as well, because it's can be done online.
So you can work with small companies as well to establish the same kind of results, yeah?
Yes. We've just last month we finished a little project for a small museum, for example, that has, I don't know, maybe like 2-3 million revenues. I don't know, something like that. Normal small museum in a German town.
Yeah. Kai, tell me something. Your book, The Invisible Game, right? Which you published, the secrets and the science of winning minds and winning deals. What is the invisible game? What do you mean by that?
So the invisible game is a joint idea by a top sales coach called Gaby Rehbock and myself. Gaby has many years in the professional sale environment.
Okay.
She's been selling big chemical projects, from company to company, not the typical coffee that I've just talked about. She sells big stuff. But one thing she found out is that all the insights from neuroscience and all the insights from consumer psychology and from behavioral pricing, all these little nudges and these little choice architectures, for example, can be used in the professional sale, and they're just as effective there. Some would claim it's even more effective because you need the theory. You can't test so much. So if you're an entrepreneur or a consultant who sells 3, 4, 5 deals a year, you have to know the theory, because you can't test all the prices in the field, or you cannot test all the packages in the field like you maybe can do with a consumer. So we've been condensing the consumer psychology and taking everything from consumer psychology that can be used in the professional sale and turned it into a strategy that we call the invisible game. The invisible game is basically consists of 3 different major factors. Okay. The first one is situational awareness. So if you're in a sales situation, be aware of what's going on. Sharpen your skills. Does the other person really think what they say? Are they really planning to buy from you, or are there maybe things holding them back? That's basically the concept of situational awareness. The second factor is defense. So how do I behave when how do I defend my prices? How do I defend my business? Yeah. How do I not suffer from discount requests, how do I not give in to those things? And how do I stay calm, for example? We have one chapter that's called Psyched Up or Psyched Out. That's why I say, keep calm.
Yeah.
And the third factor is offense. That is basically the question, how do I, for example, structure my offer? How do I design the choice for the people who buy? How do I design choices for professional buyers? How do I nudge their decisions? And, there's concepts like anchoring. It's a very, very relevant concept that all entrepreneurs should understand. Let's maybe just dive into that quickly, because it's one of the most fundamental ones.
Before you jump into anchoring, so you're saying from a business to business sales, from a professional sales point of view, the invisible game, there is a model within your book called the invisible game, which allows someone to understand what's really going on from a psychological point of view as to why this person is buying or not buying, and what they can preempt or set up to make sure that they get closer to the sale, or they win the deal, right?
Exactly.
Excellent.
Exactly. So that they win the deal on favorable terms.
Yeah, so the client is happy and they don't just want a refund or cancel. They are buying it for the right reason. Love it. Excellent. So that book is worth checking out. Remember, it's called The Invisible Game. Now, tell us about anchoring and why that is important from a business standpoint.
Yeah. So the funny thing is that our mind has no real money area. You see, our mind evolved over millions of years and has many fascinating capabilities, but one of them is not, attaching a price to a product. That is something that we've only been needing in the last 100 years or so. So we are a bit lost. Our minds are a bit lost. So, here's a great example just behind you. You gave a talk, right? Now the question is, how much is that talk worth?
Do you know where that was? I want to tell you where that was. That was in 2011 in Berlin, Germany, your country.
Fabulous. Fabulous. Yeah. So it's very hard for us to understand what is something worth, right? What is
what's the value of something? Huh?
What's the value of say a lawyer? What's the value of a consultant? What's the value of somebody putting furniture into your office? Whatever, it's very hard for us to have that. And so our mind constantly searches for other anchors. Like what is another lawyer charging? Is that contract that I need now at all worth paying a lawyer or not?
Right.
What is that consultant really bringing me? Is it paying off what they do? So these kinds of questions are very hard for our mind to solve. So if you give the mind accordingly, for example, big numbers, the mind quickly gets used to big numbers. Here's a cool story that happened to me. It really happened to me.
Sure.
And I've talked about it on German newspapers, so maybe the international crowd doesn't yet know it. My cousin visited me. He wore a very nice new business sweater, and I commented on it randomly and said, "Oh, that's a nice sweater." And he said, "Oh yeah, that was a bargain. It was just 250 euros." I was like, "Oh, okay, what's wrong with you?" So he said, "Yeah, he went to this department store with his wife looking for a new business sweater. He tried on the first one. He wanted to have that. He checked out the price tag, and it turns out that was one from Prada, which was 800 euros. So then he thought, oh, fortunately, I get this Hugo Boss sweater for 250, which is still quite pricey, obviously. But you see, immediately his mind got anchored on the 800, and he, had a new value perception for a decent business sweater. Had he gone before to Primark, for example, and checked out sweater prices there, he probably would have never bought one for 250 euro, not even claiming, that's a bargain.
Right. Yes. I see your point. It's fascinating. Recently I've been teaching people about, especially consultants and experts and coaches. I've been telling them to spend time to set themselves up to sell based on value, not based on the price yet. The price will come into it, but from the front end, from the start. And I love what you said about anchoring, because if you can explain to your prospect, because they're not a client yet, that, look, I spent over 30 years researching this, putting this model together. I have worked with over 100,000 people in order for them to get these kind of results. And the kind of results they get is 100 times their sales in less than 1 year. They get this, they get that. So now the mind has to think, I was thinking of using this other expert, but they have just told me the price, but I can see you're actually bringing expertise, you're bringing specialism, you're bringing this. So that's when you say anchoring, I think, oh, that's the kind of thing I didn't know that's part of your NeuroPricing. So I said, then you can bring out price, but make it a latter thing, because then they're looking at, they're looking at comparing, oh, I'm getting all this value for only this amount of money. I thought I'll be paying a lot more. Rather than just coming up with the price, yes, I can work with you for 6 months, it's going to be this price. What does that compare to? Right? So I believe we're on the same page here. Carry on. Very good stuff. Anything to that?
That's exactly that. Yes. You can then use many other active concepts. For example, you can place the anchor within a choice of 3. You can say, oh, so you can get the good model, the good service, which is quite decent, but for a little more, you can get the advanced service,
right.
Or for 5 times the value, you can get the superstar service, and then the middle service sounds very attractive, and that way you can get them to buy whatever you want them to buy. But also the crazy thing is that the customer feels good with it, because the customer's mind doesn't know what to get from. And in the end, if people, that's also a crazy thing, if people make a decision, if at least they feel they make a decision, they're usually very happy about that decision.
Right.
They stick to it, and then say, oh, I have chosen to work with this freelancer, for example, and that was my decision.
Yes.
And I stick to it.
And they're less likely to complain or refund or cancel, because you've taken them through a process that they have made the decision, based on their mind, which is fantastic. Listen, Kai, what's the best way for people to get hold of you? It's great subject here. We talked about neuroscience and we talked about neuropricing. You've talked about the invisible game. We talked about business. We talked about sales. Someone says, yes, I love what Kai says. I want to explore this in terms of pricing for my company. What's the best way to do that?
There's a number of ways to contact me. Maybe once more, my name is Kai-Markus Mueller. Link in with me. Anyone who listens to this show, feel free to just connect with me on LinkedIn or follow me on LinkedIn. I post regularly on LinkedIn about topics like behavioral economics, pricing, how to apply behavioral science in business context. Of course, at any good bookstore, you can buy or order The Invisible Game, The Secrets and the Science of Winning Minds and Winning Deals by Gaby Rehbock and myself. Yes, so I'm very happy to connect with whoever wants to follow me and wants to get in touch with me. And third way to get in touch with me is check out the website www.neurensics.com, which is the agency that provides the neuropricing services in case you want to measure the perceived value of your product or your service.
I love that, perceived value of your product or your service. Perceived value. That again takes it to the mind. I love that. Kai-Markus, has been great speaking to you. Everyone, you've been listening to the Business Success Show with myself, Kai, with myself, Mac Attram, of course. I nearly called you my name. with Mac Attram and Kai-Markus Mueller. And remember to follow, subscribe, hit the like button, and also make some comments in terms of what are some things that popped up to you. So we can answer that. Myself or Kai can answer that as well. So what are some things that popped up to your mind and thinking, how can I use that in my business, or what's missing? And also check out Kai's book, because I certainly am going to be checking out that book as well. Kai, thank you for being here. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Mac. And everybody who wants to comment or post, I'll be following the posts for this video or for this podcast. So looking very much forward to that and to our future conversations.
Excellent. All right. Until we all speak again, take care. And again, thank you. Remember to follow, subscribe, and also make comments as well. Like this as well. Share it with your friends. Don't be selfish. Share it with your friends, your family, your business associates, and everyone. Mac Attram checking out. Bye for now.
Bye.